Hey there. Glad you're here, because we both are. Welcome to Beyond the Frame. I'm your host, Joe Parente, and I've learned some of my most valuable life lessons from my favorite TV shows and movies.
Nice.
Sure, these works of art absolutely entertain us, at least we hope, offer us an escape, and even tap into our emotions, but there's one E, Ryan, that's often overlooked. You're going to give it to us, aren't you?
That E, man, it escapes us always.
Doesn't it?
It's educational, in case you were wondering.
Okay.
If viewed from a different perspective, these stories and their characters can help us to learn and develop as human beings. I'm your co-host, Ryan Vanderhei, and it's our mission with this podcast to share these unique perspectives with you so that you can grow from the show.
Super. So today's topic, Ryan, it's the 2025 film The Alto Nights, starring Robert De Niro twice and Deborah Messing, kind of.
One Robert De Niro is just not enough.
No,
apparently.
we need to have him squared. It was directed by Barry Levinson, and it was written by Nicholas Pileggi. You may have recognized some of those names because they're freaking titans.
Yeah, titans of industry.
Yeah, absolutely. To give you the usual warning, there will be loads of spoilers, which may be doing you a big favor. So if you haven't,
I concur.
So if you haven't seen it and still listen, hopefully what we say will make you give us a like or a comment.
I'm not sure it's going to make you want to see it.
No.
I don't promise that from this.
Yeah, exactly. Please stick around even if you don't want to see the movie because
This is going to be a fun one.
it is. We're just going to have fun with it because watching it was no fun whatsoever. So shall we begin, Ryan?
Let's get this thing on.
Okay.
Let's do it.
The answers that you're looking for are lying just beyond the frame.
Okay, so for those of you who are familiar with our show, you know that we don't do, your typical movie reviews. We do our best to look at these works of art through different lens, looking for what we can learn about ourselves, about others, about life.
Yeah.
So yes, we love to be entertained, but we want more than that, if I can speak for us boldly. Yeah,
Absolutely.
we want to be moved.
That's why I go to the movies,
Damn
man.
it. You want to be moved. So, Ryan, this is the first film we've covered that makes me wish we were doing a straight up movie review.
Yeah.
Because I've got one right here in my head.
Yeah, I
and
can
it
guess
so
what that
wants
review
to come
is.
out.
Trust me, there's a lot I'm holding back.
There's going to be a lot of holding back. But
Yeah.
I did find a theme for us to discuss. So all is not for naught, if
I'm
you will.
interested to hear what you came up with.
So I will just say, me too. So this film did challenge me, but not in the ways that I like or prefer to be challenged,
Okay, it wasn't pushing your buttons in terms of it was saying all the right things and it was making you uncomfortable. Like, oh, this is me. This is a movie that I can relate to.
Well, no.
Right. It was the opposite
Right.
of that.
No.
Sure.
Yeah. No. Because look, all I could hear in my head while watching this was one question over and over and over. And that is a one-word question. And that is why? Why? Why Robert De Niro in both leading roles? Why is everyone in this movie older than me? Why is this story being told? Why was this movie made? Why didn't they spend $110 million and make another vampire movie?
Sure.
I mean, why did I have pasta for lunch when I really wanted a grilled cheese sandwich and a lot of butter on the bread and drippy Gruyere cheese? And why didn't the Police make one more album? I mean, did Sting really feel that stifled creatively? Oh, wait, I'm at a movie. I mean, that's what's going through my head. Anything other than what's in front of me, because what was in front of me just made me wonder why.
Sure.
That's all.
It sounds like, Joe, that you
my
and I
God.
had similar
Okay, then.
movie-going experiences when it comes to the Alto Nights.
Wouldn't be the first time. So by God, Ryan, we're here and we're going to find the pearls, even though we're searching for them in the desert when it comes to this movie.
They're somewhere.
So let's get this kick-started with a question for you,
Oh, boy.
Ryan. Okay.
Okay.
So, Ryan, why did Barry Levinson make this movie? Wait, sorry, wrong question.
That's honestly a good question. That's the
damn
only
good
question that matters.
110 million.
They're gonna see
Look,
not even a quarter of that.
No.
They're not going to make a quarter of that.
I think there were about 7 of us in the cinema.
Yeah, I had about 4.
And I have a confession to make, Father Ryan.
Uh-oh.
I didn't stay until the end.
Wow.
I
Man,
can't
is that
remember.
a first on this podcast?
On this podcast, absolutely for sure.
Wow, I should have done it because there was
he was
3 or 4 times that I thought I was like, I should just get out of here.
One of the Robert De Niro's was with his plants, and the other Robert De Niro was in prison. And I'm like, what more are you going to talk about? And he's waxing poetically about his childhood friend. It's like, what? Stop.
Yeah.
I didn't buy it for a second.
No, there was a lot of things about this
my
movie
goodness.
that had me asking questions and had me looking for the exit.
Okay, well, exactly. And I don't blame you. Yeah, that was one of the other questions. Where's the exit?
Yeah.
I wonder, where did I park? How can I get out of here really quickly?
Yeah, how fast can I get to my
hungry
car?
again. Yeah, I still want that grilled cheese. Anyway, Ryan, I'm going to ask you a serious question because I did pull a theme out of this movie that we can work with.
I love it.
Okay?
Yeah. A diamond in the rough.
Exactly. So rough. So what are the important elements of a friendship for you? And I'm wondering, have you ever, this is a compound question, have you ever been rivals with a good friend? And here's a question that I really wonder about though. Can you tell me when an important friendship was tested, pushed to the limit, and emerged even stronger? And I encourage you, please name names. You don't have to name anyone. Names will be changed to protect the innocent.
Sure. I think there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, I think, first of all, the first thing that you asked, what are the elements that are important in a friendship?
Mm-hmm.
And this movie really had me thinking about loyalty.
Okay.
We did an episode recently.
We did.
About loyalty. And can you lie and still be loyal, et cetera, et cetera. Well, this one really, it's pretty black and white. I mean, there's no room for interpretation here. I mean, when somebody tries to kill you, I don't think that the friendship exists, or maybe ever did. I mean, maybe there was some. And I'm gonna try to talk about this movie without letting it be seen how I felt about it.
I think we know.
So what can I say? This movie tries to, at one point in time, these two guys got along. It tries to kind of give you a little bit of that some way, somehow.
Kind of. I mean, it shows pictures of younger actors together and tries to give you the impression of them, having a shared experience growing up.
A shared belief in wanting to take over the world.
Right. A shared thuggishness, a mobster element.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was also reference made that pretty early on, it was clear, at least to one of the Robert De Niro's, that these guys were wired pretty differently.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I mean, I'm sure they were aware of that when they were 8.
Absolutely.
But when you're 8, you don't, whatever. It doesn't matter if someone's wired differently. It's when, real life decisions start to come up that how different those people are can really impact whatever quote unquote friendship you have. I mean, look, I think I'm going to get way ahead of myself and say this, but I think particularly in this country, and I learned the delta, the comparison, if you will, from having European friends. We in this country will meet someone once and call them a friend. At least in California, the way you're looking at me.
Okay.
Ryan's not from California.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with this.
Yeah. No, well, to me, that term gets thrown around really easily.
Oh, it's like
really loosely.
Sure.
For someone who's an acquaintance, they'll call him a friend.
Mm.
And I never bought the friendship in this movie for a second.
Yeah.
And so how am I supposed to be invested in something that was completely unbelievable and didn't make me care?
Yeah.
And because there was nothing that was terribly personal about this movie for either Robert De Niro character. They didn't really get into any kind of depth with either one of them.
No.
So I couldn't care less about their dynamic.
No. Yeah. There was no part of me that wanted to see their friendship survive, that wanted to, oh no, he's betraying him. There wasn't enough meat on the bone for me to even chew.
No, they had a shared past, and that's all there was to it.
That's it. And they were both in the business of crime.
Yeah.
That was their shared interest, I guess, if you will.
Yeah.
But back to, I know we got
Please.
ahead of ourselves
Yes,
there.
we did.
Back to what we said before, loyalty and I think shared interests. I mean, those are two things that are
Okay.
important to me. And then
Okay.
also feeling a sense of, it has to be equal effort. I don't,
hear
I've
you.
had friendships in my life where it feels like I'm the only one reaching out. I'm the only one
Oh,
making
yeah.
plans.
Oh,
I'm the
oh,
only,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Oh, for
And
sure I do.
those friendships I don't have those anymore.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
eventually I
Exactly.
stop reaching out
Yeah.
and then it just fizzles out.
Yep.
So I think those things are important. I have had experiences where I've had rivals with friends.
Okay. Okay.
As far as them becoming stronger afterwards, I think I'm in the process of one right now as we speak.
I think I might know that particular.
Yeah, we've talked about it.
Yeah.
I have a really close friend of mine that was seeing someone who wasn't very pleasant.
And you said was.
Correct. They're no longer right, which is why
I'm
I
trying
say
not to
I'm
pry
in the,
too much.
why I say I'm in the process right now, because
Fair
I
enough.
do think that we will come out of this stronger on the other side. I think this whole
Good.
entire experience we've been through, it came to a head. We didn't agree. We shouted at each other. It was
Oh goodness, that's
have a
not
nice
fun.
life is
Ooh.
how it was left.
Ouch, that's not fun.
But they're no longer seeing this person. We've made amends. We see eye to eye on it now. Like we understand each other now, where we were coming from. And I think this whole entire experience will make us stronger on the other side, having
Good to
gone
hear.
through it. So
Good to hear.
there's hope yet still.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's about the only. But
that's
again,
really good
I
to
couldn't
hear.
relate to this movie in that way because it's so different. I just didn't feel anything for either DeNiro.
Me either. And here's something for movie makers out there who are thinking they're gonna, I don't know, save on their budget by having one actor do two roles, although I doubt it, particularly when it's DeNiro, unless you want to give him production credits.
Sure.
You're gonna have an issue with chemistry. Because when you have one actor acting to, I don't know what, a stand-in, a green screen, whatever, to have some real chemistry together is going to be, let me just tell you this right now, an impossibility.
Yeah.
It won't work.
Yeah.
Go ahead and try if you want. But it was Irwin Winkler's decision to do this. He was one of the producers. And
What was the decision behind
well,
it?
I just caught that DeNiro said this on one of the late night interviews, just that it was Irwin Winkler's decision that, hey, why don't you play both roles? Because he thought he'd be great in both. Well, yeah, I don't know. He might have been great in one potentially, but I didn't even think he was.
Yeah, which is weird to say because it's De Niro.
Well,
It's a powerhouse titan, like we said.
Absolute powerhouse, and it felt like both of them were dialed in. He dialed them in. He phoned them in. Not
Again,
dialed,
like you
but-
said, there's so much to. I mean, we took, that's where we met. We took an acting class together, Meisner, and the technique is to work off your scene partner,
right?
work off what they're giving you.
That's
if they're
right.
giving you anger, react with anger. You
Right.
don't.
Right.
It doesn't come out of left field. Why are you angry? The person you're
Yep.
talking to is not. It has to
Yep.
feel authentic and genuine. That's the whole reasoning behind it. And this, you're right. If you're just acting against a blank wall and a stand-in that somebody's not even moving their lips,
Absolutely.
that's hard.
Well,
How can you
it's very
create?
hard.
You're like manufacturing
That's
chemistry.
right. Well, and one of the other parts of Meisner that I really appreciate, and people out there might be listening, cringing, Meisner, whatever. It's just, it is a technique, and it's
Yeah.
something that Ryan and I learned together. One of the great things about it is that if you're really doing it, you're not watching acting.
Yeah, you're not.
You're watching
being.
two people relating.
Yeah,
You're watching two people being.
yeah.
And I could not get over the fact that this is Robert De Niro twice, and he's acting in both roles. I just
It just doesn't make sense. It almost felt like this is the last thing we'll say because I know we don't.
have
listen-
friendship stuff to talk about.
Yes. It just felt like it might have been one of those scenarios that's almost like a ploy for praise or an award. Like, oh, two mob bosses, why don't you play both of them? How genius would it be? How how revered will you be if you knock it out? If you're the man who brought to life.
That makes a ton of sense to me. I also think that it could be the suggestion of someone who doesn't mind if they lose the money.
Oof.
Maybe.
Warner Brothers, so surprising. I like Warner Brothers. I think they do a really good job.
Me too. But it was during the movie that I looked up the budget of this thing, because I thought, how much are they spending on this? Something that feels contrived and tired, and some critics love this. I did not, but I just
safe to say I didn't either.
But
back to our friendship theme here.
Yeah. So
what about you? Have you had any experiences in your life where you've had a friend that turned into a rival, and have any of them come out better on the other side?
Friend that turned to a rival? No.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever had that. I can think actually, 7th grade, John Provine's, we were rivals over particular girls.
Oh, I've had that for sure.
But that was about, that didn't, I don't know. That didn't last into my 20s.
Yeah, that was
whatever.
as a kid.
Yeah, that was
like harmless,
stuff.
Just figuring out life.
But when I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about, friendships and adversity and ones that were tested, something that came to mind to me were ex-girlfriends. And I'm really quite close friends with 3 of my exes.
Okay.
And look, that
Fascinating.
didn't happen quickly. It took years.
Okay.
There was one ex that we didn't see each other for 10 years. And when we reconnected, it was absolutely fantastic. And after our friendship, we got our friendship going again. After a few months, she asked me, she used to live in Laguna Beach. She asked me to come down to check out this guy she really liked. And so he and I went out for beers and tacos before all of us went out to vet him. And I told her, and I'm a straight man, but I told her, if you don't go for him, I will.
Yeah,
I thought, and
this guy's great.
This guy is great.
Yeah.
And I will say they did get married. And I was at the wedding.
Love that.
And they are fantastic together. I love them both.
Love that.
And,
what a great story.
I'm friends with both of them, and I love that.
Very cool.
One of my other exes, Gabby. I was in Gabby's wedding. I was one of her bridesmen.
Wow, look at that.
And I love her husband, Jason. They are awesome people. I spent Christmas with them this last Christmas.
My God.
And
people, this is living proof here.
Yeah,
you can be friends
you
with
can.
your ex.
The reason I live in LA is my friend Tracy. Tracy made my life to get here, to land in LA and to get going. She made it. She was 100% the reason I was able to live here.
Wow.
And she and I went out. She and I went out for 4 years. We met in graduate school, and I was invited to their wedding, but I just couldn't afford to go. It was a destination wedding.
Oh yeah.
In Central America, and unfortunately, I couldn't make it.
Sure.
But I talked to her this morning. So,
wow, that is fascinating, man.
So I think those are, because we absolutely had adversity, because we, all 3 of those, we had breakups. And
sure.
Some of them were rather rough. But there's a little credo I have that I do my best to live by.
Okay, let's hear it. Let's hear this credo.
Once a rose, always a rose. So if someone is a rose to you, even if you break up with them or have some kind of adversity with them, if you really love them, if they were really important to you, even if you have stuff that you still have to work out, they're still going to be a rose to you. Does that make sense?
Interesting. Yeah, that makes total sense.
You don't want to throw roses away, And if someone is, if you really did care deeply about them, then there will still be something there that's worth fighting for.
Yeah, you want them to be happy.
Yes.
Regardless, even if it's not with you, even if it's, you still want a person to be happy that you care about.
You do. Well, I
think a lot of times, though, that doesn't happen. I think people, depending on the situation, surrounding why the two people broke up, it's villainous almost at times. It's I don't know the word I'm trying to find. It's you almost want harm to come to that person, not me personally.
Yeah, I
I'm not
wouldn't think
speaking
so.
from-
Yeah,
I'm
it
not
doesn't
speaking
sound
from
like something you'd
experience.
say.
But you hear it all the time, slashing people's tires, keying their
Well,
car.
Okay, but let me just say this then. That's not love. That's they might say it to each other, but it's not.
You know what that is?
Oh, it's a lot of things, but what are you going to call it?
It's selfish.
Oh, for sure. I totally agree with that. It is selfish.
You're
It
not
is.
you're
No,
only thinking about yourself.
That's
well,
right.
this is
That's
my
right.
happiness has now been
That's right.
crushed.
That's
and
right.
You now need to suffer.
See, and in that sense, you're putting yourself first.
Correct.
Yeah. And not the other person. So
Yeah.
when I hear about those things, to me, it's like, well, like violent love or whatever. I'm like, that's not love. At least, and I'm not going to go around proclaiming, who's in love and who's not, and what is and what isn't.
Sure.
Obviously, I'm coming just from my own point of view.
Yeah.
But when you see people act in a particular way, I mean, because it's not what people say, it's what they do.
Right. It's your actions.
And so many people proclaim love, 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 say it, love, love, love. And you can just see it that there's no love there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's much like the friendship thing.
Totally. I mean, I hate to say it, but in my years on the planet, I've seen marriages that are absolutely dead, people still together. And then my oldest brother and his wife, they've been married, I think 40 years.
Wow.
They really love each other.
Sure. Yeah.
And you can tell. And
Yeah.
people, other friends of mine who have, been around them or girlfriends, they all say it. They all
It's
can see
authentic.
it.
It's genuine.
They
It's
really,
real.
really, they like each other and they love each other.
Yeah. Can't fake authenticity.
Yeah, they're very fortunate in that sense. That's fantastic.
To bring it back to our subject here, I mean, it's the same thing with friends. Like you said, people in LA, meet somebody one time and they're like, oh, yeah, I'm friends with so-and-so. And you're like, really? Call them right now. And it's like,
Exactly.
oh, well, I see him around.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay, so I
know
do
what
get
I'm
it then.
saying.
I do know what
You
you're, I do know what
Okay.
you're talking about.
All right. Hey, why don't we just jump in with a bad guy break?
Let's do it. Okay. Let's do it.
So,
This is going to be my favorite part of the pod since
so this is a movie from 1988.
1988.
Right,
Okay.
So adjust your head to,
Okay.
pre Ryan years.
Yep. I'm in 88.
The setting is present day to then Queens.
Present day Queens, 1988. Okay.
The genre is comedy,
That threw me for a loop.
and it stars Eddie Murphy and Eddie Murphy and Eddie Murphy.
Bunch of Eddie Murphys in 1988. Is this? I'm trying to think of Eddie Murphy movies, like Beverly Hills Cop,
Coming to America.
Coming to America. Never seen it. Is it a good movie? Would you recommend Coming to America?
When Eddie Murphy was on, he was so funny. He was just so funny.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to say because it's been so long since I've seen it.
Uh-huh.
But I remember at the time thinking it was pretty damn funny. He was a very talented guy.
What's the character he plays in this movie?
Oh, dude.
In Coming to America? A bunch of them? You said Eddie Murphy and Eddie Murphy and Eddie Murphy.
Well, he plays Prince Akeem. He plays Clarence. He plays, I can't even see the whole list here. But he plays several. I think he was also Nutty Professor. He did a remake of that.
Oh,
And,
yeah, that's him. Yep.
That dining room scene, I thought was hilarious.
So this is the bad guy break theme is like
The
people
nutty-
who play a bunch of characters.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
I like it.
Because we had Robert De Niro definitely one too many times in this movie.
I'll say.
I couldn't get over the gimmick. I hate being in my head that much watching a movie.
I know, yeah. I'm with you. But
Yeah.
what can we talk about that's productive?
We're going to talk, exactly, but we're going to talk about so here's why I bring up the whole theme of friendship and stuff. Robert De Niro plays Frank Costello and Vito Genovese, two mobsters who grew up together and mobbed together, and there were references in this movie to these two being best friends, which
Right.
almost made me laugh out loud every time I heard it. it made me wonder what a casual friendship would look like with these guys. If those were their best friends.
Sure.
But I think we actually saw that. And since this friendship seed has been planted, that's how I was looking at the film. So I just thought, okay, I'm going to look at the film because this is how it was planted. Like, we grew up together and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
and
there's history, yeah.
Christ almighty. So, I throughout it, I just kept thinking, are these guys really friends, or do they just share a past together?
That's a great point.
They're very different people in real life. Obviously, they're Robert De Niro, but and that doesn't mean they can't be friends if they're very different people.
Do you have certain friendships, or have you? Because I've had these in my life where we grew up, and then we realized that we were kind of just staying friends because we've been friends for so long.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yes, I
it's
absolutely
just the
do know
past.
what you mean.
It's just that
I
we've
do.
been friends for 10 plus years or whatever it is.
Well, and to me, I've had a friend since I was 9 years old.
Wow.
And to me, there are some places where we can meet because how our lives look are very, very different.
Sure, yeah.
So it does take effort.
Yeah.
I think that if we just rested on the past laurels, it just wouldn't work. So there have to be two people engaged.
Sure.
To make that work. Because
Totally.
boy, are there people that I've known for, knew in high school, knew whenever, and yeah, they're gone.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just
depends.
Yeah.
It's a
it really
situation
does.
by situation
It really
basis.
does. So, so looking at the film through this friendship perspective actually made the film more interesting for me because I needed something to be interested in. And it had me wondering about my many friendships, both, current and long gone.
Yeah.
So, Ryan, by now, I usually would have given a synopsis of the movie just to help our listeners or our viewers follow our discussion. But today, I am absolutely foregoing that synopsis because it seems absolutely superfluous to do so. And I rarely get a chance to use that word, but it felt like the only word that feels completely appropriate in this instance.
I love it. I love a chance to throw a superfluous in there. You got to take it when you can.
Because I could have just gone with that theme for this discussion. So let's get in discussing some scenes, shall we?
Let's hear it, yeah.
Okay, so in this one scene, Vito Genovese, who is the more violent of the two Robert De Niro characters, he'd been stuck in Italy for several years during World War II. He went over there and then World War II broke out. He couldn't get back. It's kind of like,
stuck,
I know someone who went to Berlin and then the pandemic hit. She
Sure.
couldn't come home for a year. Mm-hmm. So this guy who left, Genovese, had been the big boss in New York Mafia when he left. And he gave the crown, if you will, to Frank Costello when he left, thinking he'd be back in a few weeks or a month or something. Not a very long stretch of time. And by the way, these guys really existed. This really did happen.
Yeah, disclaimer.
Yeah,
these are real people.
Yeah, these are real
story.
people, which you would think would make it interesting. Anyway, but
we're just referencing the movie here.
Exactly.
We have nothing against the New York Mafia.
No. I'm so glad you said
clear
that.
my name
No, we're
here.
big Mafia fan. No, I'm kidding. So he goes over there and big war breaks out. Bummer. Spoils his plans. Hate it when that happens. Anyway, Vito the Violent, as I'm going to call him.
Vito the Violent. That's a good nickname. I didn't come up with that. He did.
No, I did. I'll take that. So he comes back and Frank gives him some territory, but Frank keeps the big chair, his place on the big chair. Okay. Somehow that didn't sit well with Vito, and he tries to, kill Frank, and stuff like that.
What you
his
do
buddy
when,
that he grew up with. Right. I didn't get my way, so you're going to die. Anyway, in this scene, Vito, the Violent, is voicing his displeasure with Frank and says, he changed ever since he was with her, referring to Frank's wife, Bobby, played by Deborah Messing. It took, for me personally, everything I had not to yell bullshit in the cinema at one of the De Niro's. Because to me, if he'd been paying any attention to Frank, supposedly one of his best friends, he would have seen that Frank was a diplomat, and that, since they were he was like this before he even met Bobby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the writing was on the wall, bud.
Exactly. I mean, and Frank would take always a more politic, less violent approach than Vito. He wanted to own politicians, not kill them.
Yeah, exactly.
He looked at the long game in a very different way. And Vito really just loved being a thug.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you really knew your close friend, you would know that it wasn't this woman who changed him, and
She's like the scapegoat.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So maybe he was thinking, I was trying to think of it as you think of your friend doing something and you don't agree with it, and maybe you care too much about them to be able to see them clearly enough to see that they made that decision.
Absolutely.
Right.
100%.
And so scapegoating.
Yep. Well, it couldn't have been them because
So-
I know them. They're my friends. So it must be
Right.
the wife.
But exactly. But since I could never buy their friendship in the movie to begin with, I couldn't help but think, no, you don't really know your friend.
Yeah. You never knew him all this time. He's acting the same he's always been.
That's exactly right. I remember when I had a friend, someone I'd known for many years, tell me that she thought I was really corporate, a really corporate kind of guy. Exactly. And the look on your face, I'm like, what?
Yeah. What? Where did that
Let
come
me
from?
see. I follow a shaman, and I fly to Europe to go to his seminars, and I've done how many sweat lodges, and I've done a lot of stuff. And
Yeah, and you work different careers.
oh
and
my
it's not
God.
like
And
you've
I
been-
just, when I told another friend this comment, the other person had that look, and it's like, do they even know you?
Yeah, they don't know you at all.
I was like, wow. I had someone just recently tell me they thought I was very fraternal, like frat guy-ish.
Oh.
And I looked at this person, this was just last weekend. I said, you want to stay with that?
Are you sure about that one?
Yeah, you sure about that one?
Sure.
Are you willing to stand behind that one? I'm like,
Yeah.
really? So do you see me as a joiner?
Yeah, right.
Because if they're one thing, I'm not.
Do you think people just aren't paying attention?
What a great question.
Yeah.
Yes, I do, Ryan. I really, really do.
Like,
I think that's it.
Are people you're just in the room? Like they're just there with you? They're just occupying space with you? Or are they really listening to you? Are they really paying attention to you? Are they really understanding you as a person?
Okay. I love what you're saying so much that I was going to discuss another scene. I'm going to forego that. Okay.
If there's anything we can do to not talk about this movie,
We're doing it. Sorry about that laugh. That was really funny.
good with
So look at, I had all these notes about this scene. Here's why I want to just go to my final statement, because to me it's talking about what you were just asking.
Okay.
So for those of you watching, I'm just waiting for my notes to go by here.
Waiting for the teleprompter to
Exactly.
finish. Yeah, get caught
Exactly.
up.
Because I like your question. I think it's really an important one.
Yeah, are you really paying attention, man? Or are you just occupying space with somebody? That's so important.
Yep.
Can you really? Some people, yeah. Listen, I know what you're saying. I've had those experiences too. I've had people read me wrong, and I'm going, what did I ever do that would make you believe that I was that?
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
I'm not friends with those people anymore. So
That's good. That's good to hear, because, okay, so this is something I got from my mentor years ago when we were talking about friendship, and we were having this discussion, you know, is it about having a shared, a shared background, shared experience? We both, love the same things. And this person gave me a completely different take on this, which I thought I'd throw out there.
okay,
Because it wasn't, okay, it's just,
yeah, I'll
throw it out
there.
there.
I'm interested.
so a true friend is someone who realizes that they're alive. It's someone who realizes that life is extremely short. And by realizing these things, this person will be different with you than most people. This person will really listen to you. This person will work to understand where you're coming from. It will have your best interest and heart, and will leave you feeling seen and heard. And that had nothing to do with a shared background. It had nothing to do with shared values. It had nothing to do with, we both love movies. We both love rollerblade, whatever. No, it was about, a real friend has these qualities. Whoa, that kind of blew my brain. It's such a different way of looking at it. And the
Yeah.
more I thought about it, the more I thought that makes complete sense, because when you are with that friend or when you're talking to them on the phone, whatever, they're really there, and they're just
interested
they're-
in what is
they're-
going on
they're
in your life.
Yes, and because they realized, life is short, they're going to be making the most of their time with you, and
So do you think that that's, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Do you think that that's just the way a person's wired?
no.
Okay.
I think how a person is wired, I shouldn't say a definitive no. I think this is something that can be learned if someone cares enough. Like if someone has enough friendships and things go wrong, and they look at their lives and go, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, how did I lose so many friendships? Why did things go so wrong? And if someone is genuinely asking that question and then is open to
Exploring that. Yeah.
yes, then I think that this is something they could come to understand, because maybe they would see, oh my God, it was all about me.
Yeah. You're the common denominator in that.
True. And but a lot of people are looking for, I love when I see this in movies or just in real life, and somebody's like, I need to tell you something. It's like, whose need is that?
Yeah.
That's your need.
That's yours.
not
yeah.
mine.
You're pushing that on me.
That's right. And
Yeah.
so someone who has these qualities, this person who has these realizations, isn't going to be giving you unsolicited advice, isn't going to be imposing the way they think on you, isn't going to be going, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. It might be questioning things. It might be like, what's your thinking behind that? Like, help me
yeah.
help me understand where you're
yeah.
coming from.
Yeah.
That kind of a thing. It's look, wow, this reminds me of something the Dalai Lama came to my school. I might have told
okay,
you about-
yeah, I
I
remember you
told you
telling
about
me this, yeah.
a long time ago. And
Please, some Dalai Lama.
yeah,
insight.
he
Here we
said
go,
one
baby.
thing that, my God, did it stick with me. And I don't think we've talked about this in an episode.
I'm excited.
He talked about when people get depressed or, they're unhappy with their lives, they feel disillusioned, whatever, that they try to go, and this is a mental type of mental emotional type of anguish or a feeling of lacking.
Absolutely.
And he said, that's an aspect of mind. And for you to try to solve that by going through your body with drugs or alcohol, whatever, he's like, that's not going to work, because the issue isn't in your body. It's in your mind.
Ah.
So he said, you know what you can do? Focus on other people. Help somebody. Like, do some volunteer work. Like, focus on your friends. Ask them
okay.
how they're doing. Focus on other people.
Yeah.
And genuinely listen to them and genuinely put your focus on them. And he's like, you will find that fog lifting. You'll feel that weight lifting,
Interesting.
because you're showing your care for someone else besides yourself.
And then that's going to, in turn, heal.
That's right.
Got it.
And
Okay.
that guy was onto something.
He's
That
sure,
Dalai Lama
sure.
guy is
Right.
onto something.
Yeah, he knew something. Yeah.
I thought that was just such a beautiful and fantastic message.
Absolutely.
And
It's profound.
I know from experience that that is true. Excuse me. I might have some of my friends thinking, oh, dang, why doesn't he give me that attention? I do my best, y'all. I do my
Sure,
best.
yeah.
But it really, I think there's
I
something
believe
to
it.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that makes sense to me when I hear you say that. It's sometimes we're so focused on ourselves, which is natural. I mean, we're surviving, right? We're trying to get by. We're trying to do the best job we can. We have to focus on ourselves a little bit.
Of
But
course.
sometimes we put a little bit too much in that, too many eggs in that basket.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts to tip the scales. And you're right. I think, yeah, I do feel alive when I focus on other people, when I care about other people, when I do things for other people, when I cultivate my relationships and my friendships and my working relationship. I mean, there's just so much, there's so many other people that are in your stratosphere, if you will, that are in your bubble. And putting some of that attention on them, I can speak for experience too. It makes me feel better as well.
There you go.
So that makes sense.
I
Shout
love
out to
that.
Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
Appreciate that sentiment. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
If there's one thing we can take away from Alto Nights, it's what a friendship doesn't look like. That's what it sounds like to me.
That is so true.
What constitutes, what does not constitute a friendship?
Yep.
What does not qualify?
Yeah, because that's what I felt throughout the movie. I just thought, yeah, these guys aren't friends. You kidding me? You know, not at all.
That I
Not at
love.
all.
I want to come back to what you said before. I really love this. You said something about, is it just two people who shared a past together?
Right. Yeah, that's all it was.
You just have a shared past. You
That's
just
it.
spent some years together
That's
growing
it.
up as kids.
Yeah.
You ran down to the ice cream,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
Once you became adults,
Different planet.
pulls apart
Yeah.
and not willing to
Nope.
meet each other in the middle, not
Nope.
willing to compromise, not willing to
No.
understand or...
No. And I would just say this about Vito Genovese. The guy probably didn't have a single friend.
Oh, I'm sure everybody
I
was
mean-
afraid of him in the movie.
And as well they should be.
When you fear somebody, you don't have any friends.
Yeah, no, and he was too paranoid, too neurotic, too violent, too suspicious. That guy, when I talked about the qualities of what makes a friend, I would say he had none of those.
Yeah.
Zero. You know, and granted, we didn't, this movie wasn't about a guy who's a potential best buddy, but it's just how this movie was positioned.
Sure.
So it was supposedly one of the cornerstones, I believe, of this story.
Well, I mean,
That was the intention.
it was
Anyway.
a stone. I don't know if it was a corner one, but it was a stone.
Well, then let me take this opportunity then to recommend to all y'all out there 5 mob movies you should see.
Oh, okay. So some good mob
Yeah,
movies.
exactly.
Okay, got it.
So the first one, Eastern Promises, starring Naomi Watts and Viggo Mortensen. It's a Russian mob in London. You can watch that on Prime Video. You haven't seen that?
No.
Highly recommend.
Sounds nice.
The second is The Untouchables, starring Kevin Costner, Sean Connery, and Robert De Niro.
Just one? Is there just one
Just
in this?
one De Niro in this one.
I can handle that.
So this is Mobsters Done Chicago Style.
Cool.
You can watch that on MGM Plus. Once Upon a Time in America, starring Robert De Niro, James Woods, and Elizabeth McGovern.
This guy, Robert De Niro,
I know.
huh? He loves mob.
He sure does, and he
Loves
does it.
mob.
He did it well in other movies. I'm just making this point. He's Robert De Niro plays a Jewish mobster returning back to the Lower East Side after 35 years away to face his demons.
Ooh, I like that
It's really
synopsis.
well done.
Yeah.
So you can see that on Prime Video. Number 4, Goodfellas, starring Robert De Niro.
Who
Ray
would have
Liotta,
thought?
and Joe Pesci. That was written by Nicholas Pileggi, if you recognize that name, and you can watch that on Max. And number 5 is 2 movies, because how can you watch Godfather 1 without watching Godfather 2? And that stars, as you might have guessed it, Robert De Niro and some guy named Marlon Brando, who I think, flew under the radar. I think he was underrated.
Right. How could you watch one and not watch 2? That's weird. I don't know anybody who's done that.
You've never seen 2?
I've never seen 2. I saw one probably 10 years ago. Loved it. And
Okay,
I never...
after we're done with this.
We're backing up.
Oh,
and
my Lord.
watching
Oh,
Godfather
my
2.
Lord. So, whew.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry about
I'm
that.
stunned into silence. So, Ryan, I don't have the typical outro, but I just want to say to everybody out there, look, you have that outro in your head, don't you?
I might have that. Let me think about it for a second.
Okay, all right. I'll
So
give you a
as
second.
always, thanks for watching.
Yeah,
We're glad for you to be here with us.
yeah, yeah.
Now it's like you put me on the spot. I can't recall it. My brain's going.
Like Ryan said, hey, thank you for listening. We really appreciate that you were here. We hope you're still here. We hope that we made an interesting conversation out of a movie that was not so interesting.
Yeah.
And we really appreciate that you're here.
As
So,
always, remember to take a step back and take a look at the bigger picture,
that's it.
because the answers that you've been looking for might be lying just beyond the frame.
I knew you had it.
We'll see you next time.
Peace.